What's up, everybody? Great to see you guys. Good morning. Thanks for getting up and joining us today. I want to welcome those of you that might be in the fireside room and those of you that might be joining us online as well. And let's give a big shout out to our Lone and Etiwanda Gardens campus today. Glad you guys are doing this together. We've been in this series for the past, lots of weeks now, where we've been unpacking a bunch of questions that many of you sent in, and you sent in a ton of questions. So there's no way to answer like all of them, but hopefully along the way we've touched on a few that maybe have satisfied your head and your heart, as we talked about last week. So what I thought I would do today, I thought we'd just wrap this up today just with a simple message of hope. Because I was thinking how life itself is just full of questions, right? And every season, those questions change. And so I thought today we just kind of look at life like a series of modes of transportation. Like you kind of start out this way with this little baby walker thing. As soon as you can pull up, you're behind one of these things, pushing it. And they have some too where they're round and you can put a kid in it. And then the kid kind of does their feet, and they scoot all around the place. And, the mom or dad puts some Honey Nut Cheerios in the tray, and it's your first drive-through experience, which you'll be doing for the rest of your life, right? But there's that phase. And then there's the day where you kind of graduate to one of these. You get your first big wheel. You might remember your first big wheel? It's like, yeah, you think you're cool when you got a big wheel. I was watching these little guys. My daughter lives in a cul-de-sac, and I watched these little guys, probably 3 of them, like maybe 3, 4, and 5 years old. They're all on their different colored big wheels. They're spinning out, trying to leave like black marks on the pavement, all that kind of stuff. I mean, when you got a big wheel, you feel like you're riding a miniature Harley, you think it's like the coolest thing in the world. I got a friend who's a personal trainer, and he's a really, really intense guy. And when his kids were little, he would enter them in big wheel races. No kidding. And he would put concrete blocks on the back and train them going uphill so their legs would get stronger, so they would destroy all the other toddlers in these big wheel races. I mean, he's an intense guy, and his kids ended up, 2 of them became Olympic athletes. So, I mean, that's just the way it is, but I always think of that when I think of the big wheel. And then when you graduate from the big wheel, you get a little bike like this, and you start out with training wheels, and you're not real steady, but you got the training wheels there, you're okay, and then they take the training wheels off, and it's like, whoa! And then once you get it, it's like freedom, man, when you get your bike. I can remember my bike when I was a kid. Some of you won't remember these kind of bikes, but I had this bike that was called a Stingray bike. You might remember those? Had a big banana seat on it and had these handlebars that came up. You really did look like you were on a Harley, man. They were awesome handlebars. And I used to put baseball cards in the spokes of my tires. And so when I would go down the street, like they go, brrr, I thought I was something else, man. And I played a lot of baseball when I was a kid, and we lived pretty close to a park, so I'd ride my bike down to the park every day for baseball practice. And I can remember, man, I had it down. I'd hang my glove on the handlebar of this Stingray bike, and I'd ride my bike to the park, and I perfected where I could get off the bike in one motion, grab my glove off the handlebar as I was getting off the bike, and let the bike just keep rolling. It would crash into the chain link fence. It was like, I'm here. Like 9-year-old cool, man. That was me, man. I love that era of my life when I was a bike riding kid. And then you kind of go through, I guess we just call it kind of this season of your life where that's your mode of transportation. You're a little too cool for a bike anymore, but you don't have your license yet. It's that season of your life where it's just kind of awkward. You know what I'm talking about? It's just everything in your life is changing. Your voice is changing. You got things happening in your body that you can't quite understand. Your life is pretty much summed up by one of these, right? You the fidget spinner. That's not everybody can do that right there now. Yeah. It's pretty much a skateboard and a fidget spinner. That's your life. That's just the way life feels. Everything is just that's the way it is. And then there comes that day where you finally get your license. And man, that's a good day, and it's such a fun day. I remember when I first got my license, I would go anywhere my folks wanted me to go. You need milk? I'll go to the store. You want to back it out of the driveway? I'll back it out of the driveway. I mean, I just wanted to get behind that wheel and, have my hands at 10 and 2 and it's like, oh man, I got my license. You remember your first car? Real quick, just shout out what your first car was. What was it? Wow. Now, I guarantee you, none of you yelled out my first car. My first car was a mail truck. My dad was a bit eclectic, and he worked at the post office, so he bought me a used mail truck as a 16-year-old guy to drive around. I'm driving on the right side of the vehicle with a sliding door over here and a cage behind me. I'm sitting on like a stool the whole time that I'm driving this beat-up mail truck. I mean, chicks dig the mail truck. Not really. They didn't at all, But it was goofy, but I had my first ride, And I can remember when I graduated to an old car, and you have to sit there. I'm driving, driving. Now I don't have two hands. I just got one hand now on the wheel, and I got my other arm around my girlfriend because she's sitting right there. And then you get married, and she moves way over there, and then before you know it, you're driving around. You got 13 car seats in the back of a minivan, and kids are kicking the back of your seat as you're driving. That's just the way it goes. And one day you wake up and you're driving around, being married 40 years, going, "You want to go to dinner at 4 so we can get back and watch Wheel of Fortune?" I mean, that's just kind of the way. That's just the way it goes, And it's just, and it goes so fast. And then you get to a point in your life where you know what? I'm never going to drive another minivan in my life. No way, man. I'm getting one of these. And you kind of hit that stage in your life, you kind of have a midlife crisis. And you go, yeah, I'd look good on this. So I'd get on it, but I can't get my leg that high. When you get on this thing, it's like, get your motor running. Down upon that highway, born to be wild. And you got the wind blowing through your scalp, and you think, man, this is, I'm alive. The adrenaline is pumping, and then the next mode of transportation is this. Because you had no business buying one of those at your age and getting on. I mean, you should never got one of those things, and now you're here. I was thinking about how there are a lot of people, and a lot of them are heroes of mine who this is their mode of transportation, not because they did something crazy with their life, but because that's just the way that it's worked out. There's many of you that come to CCV every weekend. It takes a heroic effort for you to even get here. And man, we got to tell you guys, you are heroes of ours, and we love the fact that you push through disabilities. There's some of you know we live in Ventura with our kids, and our kids started a church there 5 years ago, and it's an amazing church. What God is doing there is pretty incredible. And just a couple of weeks ago, they threw their 5th annual. It's called A Night to Remember. It's a prom for special needs students in the Ventura County area. They rented out the Ventura County Fairgrounds. They had 450 students aged 15 to 25 with special needs show up, and 650 volunteer hosts to serve as escorts and dates for the night. Thousands of people literally volunteered from the community and the church, and served as paparazzi. We would line the red carpet and just cheer, and music is thumping, and limos would pull up. And all this is just free for these students. And limos would pull up, big stretch limos. They'd get out of the limo, and all these people are at the red carpet cheering them on. And free tuxes, free dresses, free hair and makeup stuff. And it really was a night to remember, to walk out on the dance floor and see this dance floor about the size of this room just jammed with special needs students in chairs and on, just having the time of their life, and to watch their parents sitting off at the side, just tears rolling down, going, my kid is just feels special tonight, like they are. This is a night to remember. It was so cool to be a part of something like that. I think of people like Johnny Erickson Tata. Have you ever heard of Johnny Erickson Tata? She had a diving accident when she was 16, broke her neck. So she's been in one of these for a long, long time, over 50 years now. She's been a quadriplegic, but man, what an incredible woman. She has a ministry called Johnny and Friends, where she helps people with disabilities, and She is an author. She's a songwriter. She's a poet. She paints these incredible, I'm talking incredible watercolor paintings by using a brush between her teeth. I mean, it's just, she's an amazing woman. And I remember reading one of her books called Heaven's My Real Home. There's a little piece in there called Johnny's Waltz. It's just kind of stuck in my heart, where she wrote, "Though I spend my mortal lifetime in this chair, I refuse to waste it living in despair. And though others may receive gifts of healing, I believe he has given me a gift beyond compare. For heaven is nearer to me, and at times it is all I can see. Sweet music I hear coming down to my ear, and I know that it's playing for me. For I am Christ's own bride, and I will stand by his side. And he will say, 'Shall we dance?' And our endless romance will be worth all the tears that I've cried." So we go from, and this is kind of one of the final modes of transportation right here, where you just need a little help. The legs don't work like they used to. I got a friend in our neighborhood. His name is Dan. I don't know Dan's last name. I just see him every day because he walks our neighborhood every day. And I'm not kidding you. Dan walks no faster than, he goes 2 miles every day just to stay in shape. And I tell him, "Dan, you are my hero, man. When I grow up, I want to be you, man." I mean, that's just kind of the way. And so the way I look at it is that life, the normal flow of life anyway, not always this way, but it kind of is like the walker to the walker. It's kind of the way it is. So let me just give you a couple of things that God's been teaching me about this whole journey. These aren't profound at all, but maybe they are. And maybe this is something you need to stick in your heart today. And the first one is this: life is so short. Do you guys know that? See, I used to think that's something like old people said. Now that I am old people, let me say something to you. Life is so short. All of this happens in the blink of an eye. I mean, when I was telling you about my bike, if it's like yesterday I was riding that bike down to the baseball field, where did that go? When I'm sitting in the car with my girlfriend going to the prom, and today we're celebrating our 40th anniversary. I mean, where did the time go with all of this? I mean, it happens in the blink of an eye. Like I said, we live up in Ventura with our kids, and sometimes that marine layer rolls in the morning, and fog just kind of fills the whole city till about 10 o'clock. And then 10 o'clock, it just burns off, and it's beautiful and sunny and it's bright blue. It makes me think of this verse of Scripture from James chapter 4, verse 14, where it says, your life's like that. Your life's like a morning fog. It's here for a little while, then around like 10 o'clock, it's gone. All this happens, gang, in the blink of an eye. And that's why old man Moses wrote in Psalm chapter 90, he says, if that's true, God, then teach us to number our days. And help us recognize just how few they are. Help us spend them as we should, because it happens so quickly. Some of you have heard of Solomon. He was a guy that wrote a lot of the Old Testament book of Proverbs, but also in his journal, Ecclesiastes. It's all about like how life is meaningless when you don't walk with God. He gets to that conclusion toward the end of his journal. He writes these words in chapter 12. He just says, listen, remember your Creator in the days of your youth. Don't wait till you're an old man like me and you've screwed everything else up. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth before the days of trouble come. And the years approach when you will say, find no pleasure in these. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars grow dark and the clouds return after the rain. He's talking there, as you get older, you have bouts of depression and you start to feel that feeling of uselessness, like you know all the answers, but no one's asking you the questions anymore. And you're showing up at funeral homes more often because your friends are kind of dropping like one at a time, and you're losing loved ones along the way. He says, remember your Creator before all that stuff starts happening to you. Then he gets real specific. He says, like, before the keepers of the house tremble. What do you think he's talking about there, the keepers of the house trembling? He's talking about that time when your hands start getting shaky. Remember your Creator before your hands get to that shaky stage. And strong men stoop. That's talking about when your back goes out, when you swing a golf club or whatever. It happens. When the grinders cease because they're few. What do you think he's talking about there? He's talking about your teeth. Your teeth start breaking. You start falling out. And they're fewer and fewer. And those looking through windows grow dim. He's talking about our eyesight, how it gets worse and worse. When the doors to the street are closed, it's like you just can't go outside like you used to. You just can't do it anymore. And the sound of grinding fades. He's talking about that time in your life where you can't work anymore. You'd love to still have a job, but you just can't work anymore. When men rise up at the sound of birds, he's talking about getting up early, usually to go to the bathroom, and all their songs grow faint. The birds are chirping outside, but you can't hear them anyway because your hearing is going. When men are afraid of heights, where you say, I'm not climbing that ladder, I'm not getting on that roof any longer, and of dangers in the streets, where you start reading the headlines and listening to the news going, wow, it's a dangerous world out there, I better not go outside. When the almond tree blossoms, that's talking about when your hair turns white, and the grasshopper drags himself along, that's like my buddy Dan, where you just kind of shuffle through life, and desire is no longer stirred. You can figure that one out. Then man goes to his eternal home, and mourners go about the streets. He says that's reality. So hook up with God now. Spend a lifetime of walking with your Creator, because that's the reason He made you, to do life with Him, because all of this happens in the blink of an eye. Life is so short. But here's the second thing. God is so faithful through every season. In the midst of this ever-changing season of life that we go through, all the dramatic change that happens along the way, look what it says about Jesus Christ in Hebrews chapter 13. It says Jesus Christ is the what? Same. He's the same. Yesterday, today, and forever. He's constant. He's dependable. He's this unshakable rock. His mercies are new every single morning. His enduring love endures. His unfailing love endures forever through every season of your life. Every season. And some of you may be in this season right now where you got some of this stuff in your house. Maybe you got a bunch of this stuff in your house right now. Maybe you got a little one, and they're just learning how to walk, or maybe you got one that's walking and kind of running now, and you got another one strapped to you, and you got another one, saying, Mom, and your life is just chaotic right now. Or maybe you're like doing the taxi service where you're taking them all over the place. You got baseball practice here and ballet practice here, and you got to pick them up from school, and it's just chaotic. Let me tell you again, it happens in a blink of an eye. This is not going to last long. Cherish every moment you're in and lean into God for wisdom. Know that He is with you in this season. As chaotic as it may be, know that God has put those little kids in your life. He chose you to pour in your love and your life and your faith into those little kids, and just know that He's with you. God says, listen, if you lack wisdom, ask me for it. I'll give it to you. He's with you in this season. He's so faithful as you're raising little kids. And some of you may be in the season where you got all this happening, and and you didn't expect it because it's like a blended family happened, where you're trying to make two families into one. It's confusing. Again, just lean into God for His wisdom. I mean, He brought you together, and now He's going to be there for you, and He's going to help you navigate this, and He's going to navigate sibling rivalry and all the different kinds. He will help you really well. Again, ask Him for wisdom in this season, because He's right there with you. And some of you look at stuff like this, and you go, I wish, that's the desire of my heart, to have a house full of this stuff, but it just hadn't happened yet. Maybe you're like our youngest son and his wife. You've experienced the heartbreak of miscarriages and infertility stuff not working, and going through in vitro and just waiting and waiting. You just need to know God's with you. In fact, it says He's close to those who are brokenhearted, and He rescues those who are crushed in spirit. And just know that He knows your pain. He feels that. He knows the desires of your heart. And God is working in the dark. He's working behind the scenes, doing things. I mean, He promises us. He says, listen, I'm working in the dark. I'm going to do something good out of all this. And He really will. Just know that one day when you get to heaven, He's going to have a bottle, and He goes, see, I collected all your tears in a bottle. I knew, and I was right there with you, and He is. So just lean into God through this season of your life. And maybe some of you really are kind of in this awkward season of life, man. It's just like you're a middle school student, you're going, yep, you're right, it is awkward. Everything about my life is awkward right now. I just want to say to you guys, listen, just know that you are accepted by the one who matters most. that your identity is not some, voice-cracking, pimply-faced middle schooler. Your identity is a treasured child of the Most High God. And he loves you like crazy. In fact, right now he's running around heaven with your picture out going, check out my kid. Isn't she awesome? Isn't he unbelievable? This is my kid right here. That's the way God feels about you. And you're going to get pressed from all different sides. But just know that you are accepted by the one who matters most. And you have a church here that loves you and people that want to pour into your life. In fact, there's CIY, Christ and Youth Mix Camp coming up this summer. You got to go to that to be with some other middle schoolers that can help spur you on to greater things in your life. And you'll make it through this season. You really will. And if you remember your Creator in the days of your youth, it'll be an awesome season, actually. And some of you may be in that season right now where you got your license. And, again, I want to throw a little thing for CIY Move for those of you that are high school students, a summer camp that would be awesome. But maybe maybe you just got your license, or maybe you're getting ready to pack the car, and this is the last summer you're going to spend at home, and you're heading off to college, and it's like this is surreal. I go, wow, wasn't I just riding a bike, and now I'm driving away to college? And just know that there's a Father who says, I know the plans I have for you. I got plans to give you a future and hope. I'm going to do amazing things through your life. You just hook up with me. If you'll just trust me, if you'll just walk by faith, I will take you places you never dreamed you would go. Now, you can make your plans, but I'm going to determine your steps along the way. And I'm going to lead you to these places where you're going to go, wow, I never dreamed I'd be doing this with my life. Just know that God is with you. He is faithful in this season of your life. And some of you maybe aren't going away to college or going to be driving away in a limo with cans on the back that says just married, but you're going to watch it all. You're a parent, and you're going, wow. Weren't they just riding a big wheel? And now they're riding away out of my life. And you're feeling that whole empty nest thing. Let me tell you something about that empty nest thing. It's a myth. They come back. With their laundry and all their little ducklings, they come back, man. And it's awesome. I mean, it is awesome. Honestly, Debbie and I are enjoying this season of our life so much. I mean, we got married young, and we started having grandkids young. We got all these little grandkids. It is a blast. I mean, having grandkids, it's like shaking up a can of pop and just handing it back. It's awesome, man. Let it explode all over you. We don't care. We jack them up full of sugar. You deal with it. It's payback. It is so fun. But even in this season of your life, just know that God has put you in those kids' life. And God is there. You've kind of shifted from being this parent to a really good friend. And you're just helping them navigate life. And again, ask God for wisdom. He's with you in this season of your life. And He will use you in ways you never dreamed He would use you. And a lot of us, especially a lot of us guys, we kind of do get to this season of our life where we go, you know what? The thrill is gone. I really don't want to drive a minivan again. I gotta look for some adrenaline rush in my life. We go through kind of a little midlife crisis thing, and that's why affairs happen, and that's why lots of career changes happen, because we're just looking for that next adrenaline rush. Let following Jesus Christ be enough adrenaline for you. Because I've learned that when you hook up with Jesus Christ and you walk by faith every day and you're listening to the Holy Spirit every day speak inside of you, go here, go there, it's enough adventure for anybody to handle. And God will lead you on adventures where you go, wow, this is so fun. Just walking by faith and being in the hands of God and walking with my Creator. I'm telling you, it's a blast to do life that way, and you won't go through all those different midlife crisis type things. I think you ought to approach it like Bob Buford wrote this classic book called Halftime. Instead of a midlife crisis, look at it as halftime. What do great teams do in the third and fourth quarter? They come out smoking in the third and fourth quarter, right? I mean, they kind of dial up. You see teams gather. They'll gather and go fourth quarter. I'll look around. Some of you are in the third quarter. Some of you are in the fourth quarter. Some of you are in triple overtime. I'm just being honest. And we're all in sudden death, right? We all are. So just start to see your life as an opportunity. I'm not here for long, so I want to leave a legacy. I want to do something with my life that will touch somebody else's life and touch them for eternity. And on and on and on those ripples will go. So just park that thing in the garage. See, I just want to follow Jesus for the rest of my life. And some of you guys really might be at this phase of your life where it's just getting harder to get around and things just don't quite work the way they used to, and it's hard to even get out of bed some mornings. That's just a reality of life. Our bodies break down. Aren't you glad we're going to get a new body when we go to heaven? Yeah, man, I am. I'm going to get a 6'4" one. and I'm going to be able to jump out of the gym. First thing I'm going to do, I get to heaven, I'm going to dunk a basketball. I can't wait to do that. But reality is our bodies break down. They just don't work like they used to. Maybe you're like a good friend of mine just found out this week. He's starting chemo this week. Maybe some of you have been doing that for a while, and it just makes you sick every day, and you're kind of hanging on to hope, and it's just reality, and maybe you're in that season right now. Just know God's with you in this season. He's right there with you. Every time you hook up to an IV, and he's in there with you. He's going through this journey with you. He knows your pain. He knows the desires of your heart. He loves you. He gives you this peace. It says, and in fact, I've had this verse in my heart for a long, long time. It's in Philippians chapter 4 where it says, don't worry about anything, but pray about everything. And if you do that, I'll give you this peace that just transcends human understanding. God will give you a peace in the midst of all this stuff that you can't even explain to other people. It's just this peace, this calm in the middle of the chaotic life. Some of you may be in that season where you're doing okay, but maybe your folks aren't. And maybe you've hit that season of your life where the parent becomes the child and the child becomes the parent and roles get reversed. And I went through that season earlier than most of my friends. My mom and dad were a little older when they had me. And so I became the primary caregiver for my parents before most of my peers. And it was a challenging season, probably the most challenging season of my life thus far. I'm an only kid, which probably explains a lot about me, but I didn't have help with siblings and stuff taking care of my mom and dad. And so every day I would just kind of have to choose joy and ask God for his help and ask him for his peace and ask him for his strength and his wisdom and go, God, I'm barely good at being a parent myself. Now I got to be a parent to these guys, so I'm parenting on both sides of the spectrum at the same time. And it was a challenging season. My dad, the guy that bought me the mail truck, he was a character with a capital C. And I can't remember if I've told you guys some of these stories or not, but my dad, he was something else. Just a really great guy. But lots of issues in his life. He was a World War II veteran, injured there. Before people knew what, post-traumatic stress syndrome was, I'm sure he experienced a lot of that, a lot of internal injuries and stuff. And his wife left him when he was in the war. He battled with bouts of schizophrenia, with conspiracy theories and voices, and he was bipolar. And when my dad was on his meds, he was like the most chill guy. You think that's like the nicest, calmest guy I've ever seen in my life. When he wasn't off his meds, he was the most manic guy you've ever seen in your life. Talked fast, walked fast, drove fast. I mean, everything about him was fast. And he would do things as he got older that made no sense at all. And when he was 80, he just said, you know what, I'm not taking those meds anymore. I'm going out in a blaze of glory. And man, he did. And I chased him all over town cleaning up his messes. I mean, financially, it was crazy. He would just go to Lowe's and buy 10,000 light bulbs. And I have to go take them all back, He went to a department store and bought 40 sport coats, showed up at an office complex, just walked through handing out sport coats to random people that were working. I mean, just crazy stuff like that. One day a buddy of mine called me up and said, bro, I just saw your dad. Literally, he was driving 100 miles an hour on New Circle Road. I said, oh my goodness. He goes, yeah, I mean, he was going 100 miles an hour. He goes, you got to do something, man. So one of the hardest days of my life was to come face to face with a guy that taught me how to drive and say, Dad, listen, you can't drive anymore. You have to give me your keys, man. So I'm so sorry. I'll take you wherever you need to go. I mean, call me anytime, and I'll take you anywhere you need to go. And, like the saddest look on his face. He reached in his pocket, he pulled out his keys and went, all right. And I would just crush me. I got in my truck and I drove home. I was feeling awful. About an hour later, I called back over to the house. My mom answered the phone and said, Mom, let me talk to Dad. She goes, he's not here. I go, what do you mean he's not there? He's gone to the store. What do you mean he's gone to the store? My dad totally played me in the moment. Looked all sad, reached in his pocket, gave me the keys. As soon as I was gone, he was out the door going 100 miles an hour. So I had to go get all of his cars because he had bought like 4 cars, and I had to go get his cars and sell them all. It was just such a challenging season of my life. And just one day, he crammed 250 years of living into 82, and just one day, he passed away of a massive heart attack, and I can't wait to see him again in heaven. It's going to be a great reunion. We get to hang out. And you know what? I've only spent 82 1/trillionths of the time we're going to spend together. That's the reality of heaven. And so I look forward to that. My mom, at the same time, what made this even more challenging for us was, and Debbie was a great help, but my mom had Alzheimer's at the same time. And it got progressively worse very quickly, especially after my dad passed away. She didn't know what was going on. She had no clue what had happened. And it was really hard to try to keep her going. And we tried as hard as we could to keep her in her house because she was pretty independent and a little stubborn. And we thought, okay, we'll do our best to keep her. And we probably kept her there for too long. But we wanted to, it was hard enough for her to lose her husband and deal with this crazy, confusing disease she was dealing with. So we tried to keep her in her house. Like we disconnected the stove and stuff like that and tried to move our daughter next door. We rented a house next door, and we told my mom, hey, listen, Jody's moving next door. Could you keep an eye on her? Of course, Jody was there to keep an eye on my mom. And it just got progressively worse. And sometimes all you can do is just choose joy. I mean, you really can. You just got to go, you know what, God, thank you for the privilege of doing this. It's hard, but thank you that I get to be a parent, not only to my kids, but also to my parents. So never dreamed I'd get to do this with this in my life to give me the strength to serve, and that was my prayer almost every day. And I went over one day, and my mom said, I walked in and said, how you doing? She goes, not good. There's this lady living here that just drives me crazy. And I said, where is she? She goes, she's in that back room. I thought, well, who was in that back room? I don't know. She might have invited someone to live with her. And she goes, she just eats all the time. I can't afford to feed her. I said, okay. So we walk in this back room, and she stands in front of the full-length mirror in her bedroom. Says, there she is right there. And I knew I couldn't explain to her that's your reflection, so I just went with it and said, well, she looks like a beautiful, nice lady to me, and I'll just take her home and she can live with us. She goes, good, just get her out of here. I said, okay. So I took the mirror off the wall, put it in my truck, and I drove home with that lady. And next day I show up and I say, hey, how's it going? She goes, that woman is back. I had to take every mirror out of the house. So I got all the mirrors out, and the third day I go over and say, how's it going? She goes, that lady's back. She's driving me crazy. I said, Mom, she's not here anymore. I promise you, she's not here anymore. She goes, yes, she is. And she pointed to this little storage room that I'd missed, and there was a mirror on the back of a dresser. You know how they attach a mirror to the back of a dresser with those brackets? The top of the dresser was like there, and the bottom of the mirror was here, so there's a gap in between. So when I pulled that dresser out from the wall to unscrew the brackets from the back of it, there was a pile of food behind that dresser. I'm talking Pringles, Cheetos, green beans, mashed potatoes, Jell-O. My mom had been passing food from her hand to this lady's hand for I don't know how long. She'd been feeding her. And we knew something's got to change. And that went through a series of lots of moves and eventually skilled care. And for the last 2 years, she didn't know me, but she knew me. And so I remember sitting in the hospice in her final days, and the nurse told me, even though she doesn't know you, she knows you. You need to give her permission to go to heaven. So I just prayed with her, and even though she didn't know me, I told her, Mom, you need to go see Jesus. And she goes, nurse said, why don't you go home and get some rest? So I did. And they called me about 3 hours later and said, she's gone. So I went back to the hospital. I walk in that room, and they had dimmed the lights. It's real surreal. Mom's laying there on the bed, and had somebody put a CD in a player playing Amazing Grace over and over and over. So I just pull up one of those hospital, like wooden chairs, pull it up by the side of the bed there and grab her hand. And I just kind of soaked in that moment, going, thank you, God, for your faithfulness. It's been a heck of a journey. But I thank you that you've been there with her and with us every step of the way. Great, great is your faithfulness. And thank you that heaven is real, that this life is not all it, that this happens very quickly, but eternity lasts forever. And I'm so grateful, God. It's reality. He's with you every single season of your life. Someone put me onto this verse of Scripture, and it's in Psalm 136, and some of you have seen this before. The Psalms were written as songs, like worship songs, and we have a few favorite worship songs we sing around here, and this was one of the favorite worship songs of people, and what they would do, the worship singer would sing the first part, and the people would sing back the second part. And so I want us to read it just like that, like it was originally meant to be sung. And I'm going to read the first part, and you guys in full voice. You got to be full voice. Don't wimp out on me. You got to come in strong with the chorus, His love endures forever. So here we go. Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good.
His love endures forever.
Come on, you got to come with it. Give thanks to the God of gods.
His love endures forever.
Yeah. Give thanks to the Lord of lords.
His love endures forever.
To Him alone who does great wonders. Who by His understanding made the heavens, who spread out the earth upon the waters, who made the great lights, the sun to govern the day, the moon and stars to govern the night. Give thanks to the God of heaven. His love endures forever. See, life is short, gang. Life is short and sometimes really, really hard. But God is faithful and always really, really good. So I choose joy. From the walker to the walker. Let's pray together. Father, thank you for walking with us. Thank you that you made us to do life with you. So grateful for the way that you are so faithful in every season. And God, I pray for anybody right now that's maybe in that challenging raising little kids season. I pray that they would walk out of here today knowing that the good Father is walking every step. He's right there changing diapers. He's right there laughing and holding and cuddling and reading stories, and He's going to practices, and He's right there with them. And I pray that every parent in this place would just lean into you for wisdom, God, in this season. They would know that you are faithful and it goes very quickly. And I pray for every kid in this place. I pray that they would know how valued they are and how loved they are. I pray for every student that would know that they really are accepted by you, and that's all that really matters. Just to know that the God of the universe thinks that they are something else. And God, I pray that they would feel so special as they go through those years. And I pray they would know that this summer and when they go to school, when they go to camps and stuff, that you're going to go right there with them, that you're with them every day. And God, I pray for people in that season of life that may be heading off to a new adventure like college or a new career. And I pray that they would know that you are with them every step of the way, that you are faithful, that you will direct their steps in ways they never imagined. And for those of us, God, that are in that season where we're just called upon to help and have new opportunities, and I pray that you would give us the eyes of Jesus to see opportunities around us, that we would say yes to the leadership of your Holy Spirit as He leads us every day into new adventures, and that we would finish this life strong, that we really would be like a team just coming out in the fourth quarter and going at it. I pray, God, that we would never just lose steam and never lose our zeal for life and never lose our enthusiasm for you, and to never lose our sense of faith to walk with you every single day, God, and step into risk and adventure that you have for us. And God, I pray for those that are right now just having trouble getting around. They're sick with medication, or they just have all kinds of physical ailments, and life's not what they thought it was going to be. God, I pray that they would know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are in their life, that you will give this peace, that you can bring healing into places they never dreamed that you could bring healing, places they don't even know that needs healing. And God, I pray that they would experience that, and I pray for those that are caretakers of people that are going through tough stuff, that you would give them supernatural energy in this peace that really does transcend all human understanding. God, you are so faithful, and we are so grateful. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.